This is the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast. I'm here, IJ. How is everyone doing tonight? And with my two wonderful co-hosts, Miss D.
Hey guys, good to be back. How are you guys?
Oh, it's on? Okay, good.
We're good. We're good.
It's on, yeah.
All right, we're back.
Avery, how are you?
Good morning, San Francisco. All right, let's go. Let's
great
get
movie.
this going.
Great movie. A very big, very popular among the
Good
listeners.
morning, Vietnam.
No, well, it's both.
Okay, both. Whichever.
So we're here to talk about a, could be a controversial topic, but revisits, right? Revisiting with someone you've dated in the past. And of course, we brought on a wonderful guest who we had on last week, due by
Hello.
popular demand, Hannah.
Thank you.
Clap more, sorry.
I'll put my own claps.
All right.
And it really is so great to have you. We know that you are a certified life coach and specializing in dating, and you primarily act as a sounding board voice of reason, or just someone one can go to when they are having trouble in the dating world, right? So that's very good.
Yeah.
That
You read that
listeners
perfectly.
I know. Okay, I spent all night like writing up a bio.
I know.
Freestyling there.
Yeah, so far they're freestyling, right? Revisits, it's I think probably one of the more like not looked at aspects in dating, right? And it's something that has a lot of emotion in it because you're willing to put yourself out there for real rejection towards a person just because it's just so not common for people to actually revisit. And, singles do like to revisit ideas. You're very different where you are in 5 years or a year or obviously 10 years if you're around your 30s already. Right. There's such a difference in who you are, and putting that out there to that same person who you really like want to retry with it's tough. It's not easy. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today.
Right. So I think the question is like, why do people want to revisit? And like, why do they break it off in the first place? So I think like, why, like, if you're thinking about revisiting someone, like, why do you want to go back to that? Is it because sometimes people have like good memories with that person and it's not necessarily like you're compatible with them, but you just want to go back to like, oh, I had a good time with that person. So like, let's do that. But like, I don't think that's like a valid reason just to live on the memories or whatever,
You're saying it's fear of not getting like anything. So you're just like, okay, I'll go back to what I had.
Exactly.
It wasn't great. I didn't have a great, time there,
Like,
clearly, because I dumped them or they dumped me.
Yeah. Sometimes
But I'm going to try getting
Let's
that
go
because I'm
back to
desperate.
that.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's easier to go back to your ex than to find somebody new.
That's actually a good point because you have that comfort.
Yeah, you're like, why not?
Yeah.
So.
I think it's also a lot of people, if you've been dating for a long time, you start to evolve as a dater from when you started and then from where you currently are. So I think that sometimes you could have said no to somebody initially, like in your earlier dating years, for a reason that you don't necessarily feel is as important to you anymore. So like you kind of like stripped away what you thought initially was so important. So that's a good reason to revisit something.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It depends on the reason, really. Like,
Yeah, I'll just say my fear of revisiting stems from getting that feeling again, like that first time you went out. Like, it's just the fear of going back to a certain, area where like, are those feelings going to come back? Like, even if I think it may work out.
Because it ended badly?
Yeah, I
or
was gonna
because
say,
Not
what
because
are
it
you
ended badly.
scared?
No. I'm scared. Let's say I said no to a girl for,
is this thing
whatever
going to happen
reason.
again? Groundhog
Let's
Day.
say for an attractiveness. Is it gonna come back? Are those feelings gonna come back, or was it just me being stubborn then? So it's a time of your life, whatever time you are in. Like,
Those are some
those
are some ideal points where you're thinking, did I do something? Or, you start kind of, it hits you in the head, like, and you start thinking about it. Okay, like, maybe, like, will she say yes? Won't she say, like, will he want to, do girls often, like, reach out to revisit? Is that something?
Not the ones I
dated.
dated.
I think
We know about you.
I think it happens more with the older girls just because, they've dated for a while and, I think sometimes it just gets to be a little bit like, okay, well, what was wrong with that guy? What happened with that guy?
Is it because not you're desperate,
right?
But more.
So he had one, like a big unibrow. What's a big deal?
No.
Or he still had braces at 35.
Yeah, I know that one leg could still get you to the supermarket. It's fine. But I think it's important to really reassess something before you revisit it. Like you said, because you don't want to necessarily go down the same rabbit hole in the same situation. But if it was for not a big reason, it could be worth it. It could be that also there was a miscommunication last time. And, now that you have like the better tools, you're better at, explaining yourself or, showing yourself in a certain way.
Yeah. You're more yourself. Like,
more confident.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you have, and obviously the older, when you're aging and when you're getting more experience and getting to know yourself better, I think there are some things you can look back on and say, that did bother me when I was 22, but now that I'm 29 or 30, I think I'll be okay with that. I think I'd be okay with this. Mm-hmm. And I would want to give it a shot to retry,
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you get older, you also do get more mature.
Right. So what would be an example of that? Like that when you were 20, you said no because of something, and then now you're 30. Like,
I'll just go. Yeah, looks could be something that you just.
Well, Yiddishkeit usually hashkafa is a very big thing. So hashkafa is always going to be because everyone is in a box when they're around 20 years old.
Yeah. Get back off the boat.
Right. And for all of you out there who are so out of a box,
bring back that boat.
You're in a box. You're out of the box.
You mean you're in like a plastic container, not the brown
your
box.
Skirt was your skirt was down to your ankles, and now it's like creeping back up.
It's like Zara like dresses. It's a little bit more.
They're so nice.
Those are some big things. Because when you're young, you could come on a date and dish out chumras. You can dish out like these personal things that you are holding. Like for a girl, I'm seeing it still here, and like and I definitely I don't even look at boys in the office. I wouldn't even go into the office. And all
he has to always be learning. Yes.
That's a big one, right? So I was saying, and I was going to get to for the girl, right? It's like, I want the cola Liza. You spoke about that last time. Cola Liza, it's very big. And I think people have to a girl might get to a point where like she's 29, 30, she could be 35 even, and be like, I don't really think it'd be shy if he's still learning at 40 years old.
Right. Because why? Yeah.
And a guy on the other hand also, because, that dream for me died. But, I was at a point like, oh man, I'd love to just learn. But, you get older and you evolve.
Pay the bills.
I'm ready to go work.
Yeah. That's true.
Things get more real, your parents might not necessarily pay the cell phone bill anymore.
Great point. So that's an idea of revisiting that old past.
Flame.
So maybe like you can just hope that they've changed or you've changed.
Yeah.
And that it may work this time. Like that's the
it's a risk to do it.
It is because you're definitely putting yourself out there, and then the other person is like, okay, they still like me.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Right. Well, I knew he did.
It also depends how long you dated the first time.
Yeah,
if you'd even
and also how the breakup was. If it was through a shotgun, then it's a little bit more smooth. So it's not.
Right,
I don't think it was as deep. You didn't get that far.
Mm-hmm.
If it was, if you were dating for a while. And
then
you met the parents. That's I don't know that people would be so quick to revisit that.
Like no,
that's
true.
That's a lot of feelings there, and it's scary to revisit. So,
No, I also think sometimes the problem is that you like the idea of somebody. It's not like the actual person you like. So you're like thinking, I like the idea, so maybe it would work this time. But like I've had
the package works.
Yeah.
They have a good job. He dresses nicely. Does he have a good personality? It's not that important.
But it's fine. Like it's blurry. Like
Right.
But then it's not that blurry when you're actually married to them and they're like around them the whole time. And
So I mean, I've had that. Like there was a guy that I was like, oh my gosh, obsessed with, and I was like, oh, my idea of him was so perfect in my head. Cause like, okay, I'm very creative and I love music, and he was like in the music industry, and I was like, that's so cool.
The dream is so different.
Right?
So
I've had it, my friends had like, you date like this guy who's like musician or whatever, and you're like, that's the perfect thing. But
then
amazing.
They're flighty and they're not home ever. And then,
and they're like, D, like you have to be realistic. I'm like, I am realistic. What are you talking about?
And you got to raise the kids.
Right. They're like, come on. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So you have to be more like grounded. I feel like you have to know, do you really like them, or you like because what they do?
Or do you like the filter that they have, the Instagram filter?
Oh my god.
Oh, hey, it's some of those Instagram filters.
It's so fake sometimes. You have to be so careful. So,
sure.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like personally I have revisited a few times. And I could think about one specifically where I was very, I was younger, and this came through like speaking to people like some of my Rebbeim mentor, things like that, where I was thinking back, like, why didn't that work? And like I said a little bit before, it was, because I was trying to fit into a box, into a category, and over the years I kind of chilled out and these things didn't really matter as much. I was thinking more about the person, and I did ask to revisit, but I did find that an issue with it is the shadchan who was involved, because it's not always.
What does that mean?
It's so meaning that like you have to make sure you get the right person to get
communicate.
Because
the middle person.
I thought about it
point.
like after because she came back with a no. She came back with a no, and I was like
decimated.
Doesn't make sense. I forget. I was on the couch.
Haagen-Dazs on the couch. Reruns.
Guys do it
Chicken
too.
wings.
Yeah, watching reruns of Friends and tissue box.
How I Met Your Mother guy, Okay. So that's also something you have to look out for because what ended up happening was I was like, like forget this, man. I went to a shadchan who I really liked working with, and I sent them a nice long voice note, and she was able to help me revisit with that girl. So, and she told me like the first day, like, we talked about it, but she said like what did it for me was the fact that someone actually explained it to me. So that could be, that's also
good.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Cause I feel like a lot of times, if the shadchan is not necessarily working for you, and they're, they have their own agenda. And I'm not saying all shadchanim are like that. A lot of them spend a lot of time and, they put a lot of effort into it and they don't get anything out of it. But those that don't really have your best interest in mind may not be presenting the situation to the girl or the guy in the way you want it to be presented, in the light that you want it to be presented. So they could have said something, that wasn't so good. And they're like, he really, really, really wants to go out with you. Really, 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 really.
I felt like that's exactly what happened.
Because they want to make a go of it, and they don't care how you look.
It sounds or whatever.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like this intolerable matchmaker who I always worked with, and I'm like, why do I work with this person? Why?
She gets things done. She's like, just pushes it.
I don't know. I look back.
She turns the girls against you.
Yeah.
She does. Usually. She's turned you against me as well. No.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know who I'm talking about. I'm kidding.
That's why we're BFFs.
That's true. Unite.
Me and Miss Shadchan.
Oh, her? You
I thought you meant you guys.
Yeah, I thought that.
No. Her and yeah. So, what are maybe some thoughts, Misty? Like, if someone wanted to,
how do you go about
guys,
it? Yeah,
right?
How do you go about it?
So you say yes
from the girl's perspective.
Yeah, you say yes, and you're like, okay, I'm revisiting with this guy. How do you do it? Is it the same thing all over again? Like.
It shouldn't be. What do you mean?
Knock. Oh, hey, I'm so and so.
2 Diet Cokes. Is it? We want 2 Diet Cokes again? Or you
extra ice? I forgot what you said
coffee.
last time.
Not Diet Coke. Coffee, please.
Yeah, you're like I get you work at Starbucks, right? So it's like a frappa, mochaccino, 3 Splendas, 2 ice cream.
Maybe one Splenda though. I want to be healthy.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
So what do you? So what do a girl expect? To do? And like how should we handle things? Casually, like serious? Are we? Are we starting fresh, or are we picking up where we left off?
First of all, do they even say, like, do you give it another shot? Will you give another shot to a no?
Oh, in general?
In general, yeah. I'm just curious, Misty.
Yeah. I think, again, depends, like, what happened, but I'm, like, for it. Yeah. I would say yes.
Okay.
Do you go back? What were you saying?
Does it pick up?
Does it go back to the beginning?
Or does it reset?
Right.
So that depends, like, also how you ended it. Also, how long ago was it? If it was, like a few months ago or like years ago, you're not going to pick up like right where you left off years ago.
Yeah, how was your mother feeling? She had a cold 12 years ago, right? Yeah.
So it depends how long it was.
That's so nice of you. Oh my God.
Like, you remember it.
I knew it. I knew you were in lust.
Obsessed.
Right.
Are you still in college like 20 years later? Like,
right.
Yeah, you're 37. You're still
right.
So,
right. Oh, my cousin from Queens.
Right.
Same question.
So I am for revisiting, but I think that I would have mixed feelings about it. It depends. I don't know. It feels like I would feel questionable about it. Like, why do they want to revisit, and has the other person really changed? And the reason, like, why did we break it off the last time? So that's something to really think about. I don't think you should just like jump in, like, you know, definitely think about it because you've been there before and you don't want to make not a mistake, but like, you know, you just want to think about it. Also, I think that, yeah, so you have to take it slow. I think that's an important point. I don't think to rush into anything. I feel like we mentioned those points like before in other episodes, but definitely take it slow. And also, you kind of want to make up for lost time in a way, you know, like you want to, because you guys been apart, depends for how long also. It could be for like a couple months or a year or whatever. So you want to do that. And also, I think this is a big thing that you don't want to let your guard down too fast. You want to make sure you feel safe with the other person, especially like if they rejected you, it's scary to open up yourself again. So you want to make sure that you have that guard and you want to let it down eventually. But like, you know, it's important to have that in mind. And what else? I don't know. Those are like my few points. Also, yeah, just trust your intuition, your gut feeling. We also mentioned that many times that that's so important to just go with that instinct. And then again, listen to people's advice and all that, but also listen to that voice inside of you. And like you mentioned before, IJ, have some compassion and be ready to forgive because you don't know what the other person was going through. But yeah, so have your mind open.
Has someone ever tried revisiting with either of you?
As the receiver.
As the recipient of... No one's done it for me.
Happened twice.
Oh, really?
Happened 2 times.
What do you mean? Why are you surprised?
How about you?
Okay, that's a comment. But
oh, wait.
No,
Someone actually got brought up too. I don't believe.
Someone I've said no to tried like sticking their resume back at me. You know, like a little
that's
like putting the mail to the mail slot. Like accept it.
That was fun.
But yeah, I think revisiting is a problem. There could be problems when you revisit because you get stuck in this whole relationship between each other.
Right.
You get that whole, you know, Ross and Rachel type of relationship going on for a few months here, a few months there.
Yeah.
You're kind of like hanging in no man's land, and you need a specific place to where, you know, this relationship is going.
Right.
On another note, I did have a story about revisiting. There was a friend of mine who was at a wedding with me. IJ was actually there. Funny enough, IJ was there. We were at the wedding, and a girl came over to him at the wedding, and she's like, "I know you from somewhere." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I've seen your resume before. I rejected it 4 times, and I didn't want to go out with you." And he must have seen her resume too. He probably said yes, of course, like 3-4 times, and he was like really dying to go out with her.
Right.
And she said no, but she saw him in person. She's like, "Oh wow, he's really good looking. I like him. You know, I wasn't into his career. I wasn't into his, you know, whole thing. But now that I saw him, I'm interested." And they started talking, and they had some alcohol, and that always helps dates.
That's the only case that worked for you, the alcohol.
Yeah, some booze. That's like the one. Yeah. So that was their shotgun actually, and lo and behold, eventually they got married. Yeah. It was funny because after the wedding, you know, they were talking, whatever. I met her, and my friend was like really eager to go back out with her. It was like, you know, I want to go out another date. Let's go out tomorrow night right away.
Right.
And he said, you know, I'll get your number. I'll text you right in the morning. So he texted her the morning after, and we both were, you know, I was with him that day, and he's like, "Oh, I texted that girl, you know, from the wedding." I'm like, "Oh, really? Nice. How'd it go?" He's like, "Oh, she didn't respond." It was like 8:00 in the morning. I'm like, what the heck? She didn't respond.
It was 2 timing.
She may have been 2 timing, and eventually they went out and they got married, and they're
so living, 2 timing's okay.
They're living somewhat happily ever after.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah,
the paradox.
But that's a good story to revisit. Like you never really know until you see the person.
That's true.
Or until that balance comes. You know, like you may have said no to something, and then you know you see them, or you see someone who knows them, and they're like, you know, they give you another chance.
It's you could be, you know, in an ambivalent position when in that matter. So
they throw you another life, like in Mario Kart. You know,
it's a good game.
Life is Mario Kart.
I think it's important that I think you could just sort of, you know, have that familiarity, but you know, if you're doing the same thing over again and expecting different results, it's called insanity. That's the definition of insanity.
That's a good point.
So I think that you should go in with a little bit of a different attitude, even if it just means that you yourself are going to view things differently. You're going to be more open. You're going to be less judgmental. You know, you're going to just be more effusive. You're going to be more expressive.
Yeah.
You have to do things a little bit differently.
Right. Not the same. Yeah. Right. Also, because hopefully you've changed throughout
Exactly.
time.
You've evolved.
Yeah. So you're not the same person you were like back then. So I agree for sure.
And how do you get over that step, that mental hump, like in your head, that mental block? Like I can't revisit. I can't do it. It's like too much. It's too daunting. Like if you really
but why
want
do you think it's daunting though?
Right, you have to talk. You have to talk it out with yourself.
Daunting like anything. It's
like why am I scared to do this?
It's like the
what's
same
wrong?
thing.
Yeah.
It's like going to a job interview. The same daunting feeling. The same like.
Because you're
I
scared
can't
of
go to a job interview. I can't
You're scared
go.
of rejection. You're scared that it's gonna.
Exactly, the fear of rejection. How do you get over that? Is that
I think you have to
Aside from
build
the-
some
the just
confidence.
do it.
You have to tell yourself the worst thing that can happen is that it's not going to go well, and it may not necessarily be because I'm not a good person. We don't click. We don't fit. What I have doesn't match up with what they have. You have to build yourself up to a certain point to feel comfortable going out again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Avery, on that note, people could get very regimented in their ways, so that fear of rejection is very real. It's very important that when you're looking to revisit, to remember that if they say no, they're saying no to 5 years ago Avery, to 5 years ago IJ. Different person, totally.
Oh yeah.
Who you are today is you're so different. Look how much you've accomplished in your business, in your personal life, on your Instagram handle. Right? There's so many things that you've reinvented yourself, and people really need to understand that and have more compassion. What we're all guilty of, especially the guys. Maybe the girls also, to be honest.
Yeah,
But you
I
have to
think
have,
girls could be a little mean.
yeah. Thank you. See, Miss D. See.
Yeah.
So you have to have just some compassion and don't just like rush to say no.
Yeah.
Like think about it. Let me get back to you. Let the child know.
that's a
Let
good
me
one.
get back to you.
Benefit of the
And
doubt.
Let
maybe
me
would
think.
help.
Yes.
And
Give them the
and
benefit of the
handle it.
doubt if they said no to you, saying like, okay, maybe they
Put
were
yourself in their shoes.
Right. Maybe
What
they
was going
were
on with them?
Maybe they had something going on with school or something going on with their
Yeah,
personal
that's
life
great, yeah.
that they need to take a break after you dated. Like who knows?
Yeah, maybe they were jaded and they went into the
Exactly.
dating you with this bad
Bad vibe.
Yeah.
I had that once. I was in a very, very bad place.
Tell us
Very
a little
bad
more.
place.
Tell us a little
Share
more.
your story.
Actually, it was the last podcast studio we were at. No, but I was in a bad place, and I was dating somebody, and I'm like, oh my god, like I couldn't even fathom going to like get engaged or like anything like more than just getting in the car and like going to a place.
Yeah.
anything more than that, like anything in a
She was
relationship. I'm
extremely ardent about.
So what'd you do?
And probably
very
everything bothered
enthusiastic.
you, every little thing,
Yeah.
like,
because you were in.
everything bothered.
Oh my gosh,
everything bothered me.
the way she wore her hair. Who wears her hair like that? That's just
Everything
who does
she
that.
said.
breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was
She wants food. No, have a snack beforehand.
100%. And I'm just thinking, like, if I was in a better spot, like afterwards, like,
Yeah.
okay. So maybe now that I'm in a better place than I was,
Maybe I was just
it's a good
hangry.
idea to revisit. Exactly.
That's a legit reason.
Yeah,
Angry's the thing.
it is.
Eat. Don't go on a date starving. I'll tell you that.
No, absolutely.
point, actually.
Don't go to the store either when you're hungry.
Oh, you're shopping? Like
Yeah.
grocery shopping? Don't do that.
I'll eat
I've
maple
heard-
glazed waffles with nut
yeah, big stomach
caramel
problem,
every
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Pesach comes around and you're like, I bought that a long time ago.
Like, shoot.
Well, that would be very interesting. We could probably do our own episode, a standalone episode of just like what to do right before the date. Like girls have to go and eat. And
oh, yeah,
Yes.
I'm curious what
Yes.
guys do right before the
I'll tell you
date.
what
not
I
bad.
do.
That's
My
not bad.
like
put
mental
that on
process, like 5 minutes before the date, is like, what are you thinking? You could be at home right now.
Oh yeah, I know.
could be-
You could be watching this episode of this.
Why
so
am I
do that.
doing
You
this?
could be recording another podcast. Like, what are you doing
Yeah.
on a date?
That's why that's why it's so nice when you go out and it's fun. Because then it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
actually had fun on this
Right.
date.
Like,
What a
I
novelty.
enjoyed it.
Actually
Yes.
looking forward
Yes.
to going
Very
out. That's
true.
Yes.
something that's big.
Very
that's a
true,
good
by the
point.
way. It's so true because it's like guys get anxious and some anxiety before the dates as well. By the way,
Yeah.
just in
Really?
case anyone know, really, I know.
I think it makes sense.
And like after the date, if it was good, wow, we're like, oh man, I nailed that. I was like,
Yeah, you feel
that
like
was
do like a whole
the
victory
best thing.
dance.
Like that's like you're at the ski, like what's it called? Like the Olympics, and they all put up a 10. That's how
Yeah.
you feel when you're on your way
It
home.
was like Hitch.
Everyone puts up a 10.
It was like in the-
Random strangers pick up tens, and you're like,
You're in the
thank you.
street.
I'm like, thank you,
Thank
mister.
you, Jimmy.
Thank you, shopkeep.
Thank you, homeless guy.
It's so true. So, in closing with revisits and, so what would you guys want to leave the audience with, when they take away? So I personally would just say that, again, remember that you're very, you have to remember that person can be, not always a guarantee, but can be so different night and day from who they were. And it's absolutely worth some time to think about. It took a lot of guts for that, for them to get, to want to revisit, to reach out and reset it. So make sure you have some, understanding in that. Take some time to think about it. And, do a reboot, do a reset on that. Look into the shadchan, but call up the references, call his friends, maybe even compare the resumes. See, like, oh, hey, what's changed? Like, let's see if this person really has, become someone who I can match up with better. So I think that's what I want to, have people take away with. Hannah?
Yeah, I think that, you should definitely, like everyone was saying, don't just say no because you don't have the patience to really look into it again. Give it the chance, take a minute before you just say no. And also really think about why you said no initially and break it down. Was it really this? Was it really that? Was it the shadchan? Was it me? Really reassess it properly. And then you can give a no if it makes sense to give a no.
Yeah.
I like that.
I agree. I agree with Hannah a little bit, and I'll expand upon that.
Just a little.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Mostly,
no, very good
mostly.
points.
It's
very good points. I like
excellent points. I think that just think about what your mental process was when saying no. Give her the benefit of the doubt. Give him the benefit of the doubt. If you want to go back and say, man, maybe they were just off their game, something was wrong, something was bothering them.
Right.
The Rebbe didn't give them enough attention. I don't know. Who knows what? But they lost their car or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Right.
just give them the benefit of the doubt. Think about your mental process as you're dating.
And I think 2 things. One, that it's a risk, but in life, just got to take risks. So I say do that. And also, I think timing is everything. Sometimes you meet somebody and the time isn't right, so it just didn't work out. And throughout life, things just happen when it's supposed to happen. So maybe then it wasn't, but now it is. So
Absolutely.
just have that in mind also. So.
Amazing. No, I like that. That's a really good point. So true. Okay, great. Everybody, thanks again for joining us. And we wanted to thank Hannah
Thanks for
so
having
much for
me.
coming. Is there anything you want to tell where people can find you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram at Hannah Kahana Coaching. And you can always send me an email to hannahkahanacoach@gmail.com.
And I'm always here to help anybody who's looking for help.
Recommended.
Thank
I'm going to have
you.
20 emails for you after this.
Yeah, he's going to email you. So I'll give you his email.
How do
right
I know
after
when
and
I'm
block him.
hungry?
Exactly.
Okay, great, guys. Hey, I've had so much fun, and thank you all for
Hey,
joining us.
thank you.
This has been another episode of the famous and only and first Shidduch podcast, the Nobody Talks Shidduchim podcast.
The LMNO Broadcast Network.